Hello and welcome to Creative Edmo. If you are here for the first time, please subscribe. So today we are going to discuss Fire and Ice by Robert Frost. One look at the title and you get to know that this poem is about opposites. So the main theme of the poem is that it presents contradictory or contrasting views. Contrasting and contradictory means opposite. So it presents contradictory views about the end of the world, annihilation of the world, that is complete destruction of the world. In Bible, the word apocalypse is used to describe the end of the world. Now you may wonder why Robert Frost chose such a depressing theme for his poem. The answer lies in the year this poem was composed. Frost composed it in 1920 and the World War I had just ended in 1918. So it was obvious that people of that time had just witnessed the horrors of war. No wonder they must have thought about death and destruction of the world. Now let's have a quick look at the poem and then we'll discuss it in detail. This poem consists of two stanzas. The two stanzas present the contrasting ideas regarding the end of the world. The first stanza talks about destruction of the world through fire. The second stanza talks about destruction of the world through ice. It's important to note that the poem uses the words fire and ice as symbols. It means they represent much more than the physical elements fire and ice. They are used symbolically to represent various human emotions which will end up destroying the world. We will discuss about it in detail in a while. So for now, remember that fire and ice are used literally as well as figuratively. Literal meaning refers to the simple meaning, whereas figurative meaning refers to the deeper meaning, the hidden meaning, the symbolic meaning. Okay? So let's start. First, I'll explain the entire poem. Afterwards, I'll explain various literary devices, poetic techniques, and rhyme scheme used in each stanza. Okay? So let's begin. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. The poet comes to the point directly. According to the poet, some people feel that the world will end in fire, whereas some people feel that the world will end in ice. It's believed that this poem was inspired by a discussion that Frost had with one of the famous scientists of that time. The discussion was about the end of the world, and two views were presented. Some scientists believe that either the Earth's temperature will be unbearably hot or unbearably cold. In the end, the sun may explode, it may lead to Earth being engulfed in flames, or it may lead to sudden drop in temperature like ice age. So this is the debate in the scientific world. And these two contrasting ideas have been presented in these lines. Next, the poet says, from what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. I hold with those means I stand with those who favor fire. That is, the poet also feels that the world will end in fire. And why has he reached this conclusion? It is because of what he knows what desire can do. From what I have tasted of desire. This phrase refers to the poet's personal experiences, observations, and views about desire. Now it becomes very clear that fire is used symbolically here. The poet is not simply talking about global warming or any fire because of environment. Fire is used as a symbol to represent desire and other destructive emotions. You must have heard the phrase burning with desire. When you want something desperately, it's like you are burning with desire. So desire is associated with fire, isn't it? So Frost uses the word fire to represent violent human emotions, excessive all-consuming passions that are capable of destroying the world. So fire represents or symbolizes desire, greed, avarice. Avarice means extreme greed, anger or fury. Fury is wild and violent anger. Cruelty or brutality. Brutality also means extreme cruelty. So this is a very important question in exams. What does fire represent or symbolize? So this is the answer. Now you may ask, how can desire destroy the world? Try to think about the history that you have read. So many kings, kingdoms, they all desire to have more and more, isn't it? All wars begin with some sort of desire. And look at the end result, death and destruction. So desire, greed, anger, cruelty, all these emotions are capable of destroying the world. Here's the second stanza. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. Now in the second stanza, the poet presents the second view. It's like more the poet thinks about it, the more he realizes that even ice is capable of destroying the world. So the poet says that if it had to, what is it here? The world. So if the world had to perish twice, perish means die, twice means two times. So the first time the world got destroyed by fire, now suppose it has to perish twice, then ice is also great for destruction. Ice would also suffice. Suffice means be sufficient or enough. So that is, ice would be sufficient for destruction too. And how does the poet know about it? The phrase, I think I know enough of hate. So as the poet had tasted desire, in the same way he knows enough of hate too. So from his personal experiences, he knows that hate represented by ice here is equally capable of destroying the world. So it's quite clear that again the poet is using the word ice symbolically. He is simply not talking about that ice age that may make life impossible on this planet. He is talking about hatred, insensitivity, intolerance, indifference, apathy. That means lack of interest or concern for others. Now you may wonder, how can indifference or intolerance lead to the end of the world? Think about World War II. Think about Hitler, his hatred for Jews, his insensitivity towards their suffering, his intolerance. He simply couldn't tolerate their presence, his indifference to their pain. So hatred is sufficient to destroy the world, isn't it? This emotion is sufficient to eradicate all humanity. Eradicate means to completely wipe out, to completely destroy, finish. So people have lost the warmth of human affection, kindness, and sympathy. The icy feelings of selfishness and insensitivity had suppressed human values so much that it can also lead to the end of humanity and the world. Now, a very important point you should note over here is that fire and ice are so different, contradictory, isn't it? Even symbolically, the emotions represented by fire and ice have glaring contrasts. Yet, both these elements are capable of annihilating the world. There is a destructive power latent in them, isn't it? So thus we can say that fire and ice are dissimilar as well as similar, isn't it? So now let's look at the rhyme scheme of the poem. If we look at the poem as a whole, then it consists of 9 lines. Normally poems tend to have a uniform rhyme, as in the case of Dust of Snow poem. But in this poem, the rhyme scheme is not uniform. To find the rhyme scheme, we look at the last word in each line. So fire rhymes with desire, ice rhymes with twice and suffice, hate rhymes with great. So we label fire, desire and fire as A, ice twice ice suffice as B, hate and great as C. So this is how the rhyme scheme comes out as ABA, ABC, BCB. The poet chose not to have a uniform rhyme scheme. Since he is talking about two contrasting ideas in the poem, so he chose to have this kind of rhyme scheme. So we can say that the rhyme scheme helps in bringing out the contrasting ideas in the poem, isn't it? Very important point. Please remember this. Now let's look at some other literary devices used in the poem. Anaphora. It is a poetic device in which a word or group of words is used repeatedly at the beginning of sentences. Now look at these two lines. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. So the words some say have been repeated, isn't it? So the literary device used here is anaphora. It lends a rhythm to the poem, isn't it? So anaphora is used by the poet to create a special effect or to emphasize something. Over here, it is emphasizing the two contrasting ideas that some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. Next is alliteration. In alliteration, consonant sounds in two or more neighboring words are repeated. Vowels are A, E, I, O and U. Rest all sounds are consonant. Now look at these lines. Some say the world will end in fire. Some say in ice. So, sir and ver sounds have been repeated here. Some say, world will. Okay. Now look at this line. I hold with those who favor fire. Fir sound has been repeated. Favor, fire. Next is assonance. Assonance is the close repetition of same vowel sounds within a group of words. Now look at these lines. But if it had to perish twice, I sound has been repeated here. If, it. Even in this line, I think I know enough of hate. You can notice that I and O sounds are prominent. So again, assonance has been used in this line. Next is enjambment. In enjambment, a line runs onto the next without any punctuation mark, that is comma or full stop, to show a pause or a stop. The poem Dust of Snow is an excellent example of it. In Fire and Ice also, this technique has been used. Now look at these lines. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. So directly after ice, the full stop is there. One line is running to the next line. I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction, ice is also great and would suffice. In this example also, there is no comma, no punctuation mark. Directly after suffice, there is full stop. So, this technique has been used here. Now, let's look at symbolism. Symbolism we have already discussed. We have already seen that the poet uses fire and ice as symbols. Next is imagery. Imagery refers to the mental pictures or images which are evoked in the reader's mind through words. So the images used are that of fire and ice. It evokes the pictures of the world engulfed in fire or covered with deadly ice, isn't it? And you can also say that fire and ice have been used as metaphors for various human emotions. Now, what is a metaphor? You must have heard about simile and metaphor, isn't it? So, metaphor is used for comparing two different things. It is an imaginative way of describing something by referring it to something else. For example, if you want to say that he is quite brave, you may say like, he is a lion, isn't it? Now, lion and human are quite different. He is not a lion, he is a human being. But you wanted to describe the quality of bravery that he possesses. So you chose to describe him as a lion because lion is strong, brave, fierce. So that's how metaphors work. He is a lion. So over here, metaphor has been used. In the same way, in this poem, fire and ice have been used as metaphors for various human emotions. We have already discussed it in detail. Now let's discuss something about the title of the poem. The title of the poem is short, crisp and meaningful. It conveys the entire gist of the poem. Gist means general message. So the title presents the two contradictory ways in which the world may end, fire and ice. Now normally we always talk about the message of the poem. This poem doesn't seem quite didactic. Didactic means something that aims to teach you or give you a moral lesson. The poet is not directly preaching that don't hate, don't be greedy, etc. Instead, it simply tells us that the world will end because of these two things, fire and ice, and the destructive emotions that fire and ice stand for. So it is for us to understand the message on our own. If humanity continues on this path of violent emotions, the path of excessive desire, greed, and hatred, then the world will definitely come to an end sooner or later. So indirectly, the poet wants us to understand this message. So I think I have covered almost everything. I hope you understood the poem. If there's any doubt, please feel free to comment. If this video helped you, please like, share, comment and subscribe. Thank you and have a nice day.